I am so tired of coming on this podcast every single week and telling you to stop playing T.Y. Hilton. Like, just stop it.
Mikey needs help.
Mikey needs help.
I was like, if you don't have Jeff Wilson in here, and if you don't run it on first down, I'm gonna strangle you through that TV.
You should know better than everyone else. That fool tears you up when you plays you.
Yeah, but
Don't you want him on your team?
I have him at number 25.
Thank you. Fine. Todd's the reasonable one on this show.
I take issue with everything he said there.
Well,
I really do.
DeAndre Swift. He's going to break them tackles, son.
That's bold. That's bold. That's putting your nuts on the table right there.
Hey, there's the first time for everything.
Waxing poetic over here with Todd Diamond.
Dude's old.
So what? He's not as old as Brady, and you're jerking him off before the show starts.
I have Sutton in my top 10. I have him at number 9.
Yes.
You know what? I'm just canceling the league. I can't do this with you guys.
We are less than a week away from our live MHA draft. We're excited here on the MHA podcast. You can't win a championship at the draft, but you can definitely lose it. What's up, MHA owners, and what's up, Mikey Renaud, Todd Diamond? I'm Eric Lansing. How's everyone's Tuesday evening going?
Fantastic. The Yankees won. That's a good thing. So podcast starting off right.
Good thing for who?
For me, because we won three. We won 3 in a row. Okay, all right. The last few games have been gross. Hey, your O's won too, so come on, you gotta be happy too.
They're in the playoff race. Who'd have thunk?
Yeah,
it?
2.5. So you gotta. You're almost there. Like I said, you're creeping closer.
Creeping closer.
Mm-hmm.
Mikey, what's going on? How are your Rockies doing? Same.
What? Who are the Rockies?
We were watching. I think we were watching the Cubs game today, and I think the Cubs play them in a little bit or something, or maybe it was the other team. But anyway, the broadcaster was like, "And they're playing the Rockies this week." Yep, almost forgot they were a team. Didn't realize they were still in the league because a broadcaster dissing them like that. Just that's how bad the Rockies are these days.
Yeah, I can't tell you what the last time I watched a Rockies telecast is. Like, I don't want to waste my time with bad sports.
When was the last time you watched an Orioles game? Yeah.
I don't remember
either.
No.
Probably when
Actually,
whoa.
Wait a second. No, I maybe watched like an inning or two of the game on Sunday when they were playing in the Little League Park, just because I wanted to see, the atmosphere over there. That was kind of neat.
Yeah, I missed all of it. Had to work. I missed all of it. I got home right when the game ended. Very disappointing. But I heard it was cool. Had Chris. We had Mullins mic'd up, and Austin Hayes mic'd up, and I guess they threw at a batter.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were talking. I think they're talking to Cedric Mullins on second base. He goes, "Hey, I didn't." Oh yeah, it was Verdugo. I think he said something like, "Hey, I didn't hit you, just so don't have them hit me," or something like that. It was really funny, but. It's amazing what they can do in TV anymore. What's that?
Well, the part I saw was where they were interviewing the commissioner and George W. Bush. And that part was pretty funny because they kept talking about how George Bush, he knows his baseball. He knows all about baseball. And the whole time he's just asking, what position does that guy play?
Oh, goodness gracious. Yep. So there's baseball. Baseball's coming down close to the playoffs over there, but for fantasy football coming up around the corner. So just a quick question for you guys as we get into this. Alan Cook has the number 1 pick. Let's help him out a little bit. Who should he select as the first overall pick? I'll start off with Todd.
It's Jonathan Taylor. You shouldn't have to think on this one. Just Jonathan Taylor. Easy.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. He says Taylor. Mikey, do you agree with that?
If I'm Allen, yes, because there's safety with that, so far, avoids injury risk. He was the top running back last year. But I don't know. This is the 3rd time in a row he's had the number 1 pick. So I don't know. Maybe he should try something a little off the board.
Cooper Kupp?
Perhaps. We'll see. I would agree. Jonathan Taylor's my number 1 overall guy. I think The good thing about Taylor is he's still relatively young.
Mhm.
Hasn't really shown signs of being injury prone. I mean, he's obviously very young in his NFL career, but all things lined up. Yeah, I don't know how to deal where I was going with this. Okay, speaking of the draft a little bit, over the last 10 years in our draft, this is not MHA trivia. This is just some facts. And we'll have some MHA trivia coming up in a little bit. I guess I should tell the audience what's coming up on the show. We'll talk about, the what's coming up here, the MHA draft a little bit. We're going to talk about some busts. Of course, guys we think aren't going to live up to their values or current values, or guys are just going to blow it this year. Some sleepers, some guys that could or play over their average draft position. And we got some bold predictions, which always is fun, especially when it comes from Todd.
Yeah.
And then, of course, some MHA trivia, which will be in a few minutes. But I want to just throw out some stats at you guys. Over the last 10 years, I don't know, I'll ask this. I don't know if this is a good question, but over the last 10 years, what do you think the average draft position is for the champion that won that year? So based on where the champion drafted in the first round. So if you thought that more of the champions were drafting at the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 area, then the average spot would be closer to that side. If you feel like the average champion were drafting in the first 5 picks, then you figured they would be more on the early side. So where do you think the average, I guess it would be the mean, right? In terms of the last 10 years. Does that question make any sense to you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll let you answer, Mikey. Where do you think the average draft mean is in our league for the past 10 years? Where the champion drafted in the first round?
I'm gonna say 7 or 8.
Okay, Todd.
I'll go 5 or 6.
And the correct answer is it's 6. So well done, Todd. But of course, that's in the middle, right? So we've had some guys at the beginning, some guys at the end. So the most champions came from the 4th overall selection, 4 times that they've picked in the 4th spot and became out champion. So we have seen 0 champions from the 1st overall pick. Sorry, Alan. And at least in the last 10 years, the 1st overall pick did not win a championship. The 3rd overall pick, the 6th overall pick. Is that you, Miguel? 6th?
That's me.
And the 9th, which is me. And Todd's 3rd, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're all screwed. According to the last 10 years of history. Really? So Alan, Todd, Mikey, and myself have to overcome history in order to win this year's MHA championship. Interesting.
I better see if I can trade down. I'm going to make some trades right now.
Oh, man. And one more stat here. In terms of, and I'll ask you guys this question. So the last 10 years, so 10 guys, which position do you think was drafted the most? So was it the wide receiver position that was drafted the most, the quarterback position drafted the most, or the running back drafted the most in the last 10 years? If that makes sense. So which position was drafted the most amongst the champion that drafted that year?
Ooh. It's tough because at least the first few years, the first couple of years, it was quarterbacks all the way in the first round. But I'll say running back. I'll say running back.
What about you, Miguel? Which position led all of them? And you can say tight end too, but there's not many.
No, I don't think it's tight end.
It's kicker. I knew it. It's kicker.
I'll agree and say it was quarterback.
Okay. The actual answer is wide receivers. So I'll go through this real quick. I almost made this MHA trivia, but then I changed it at the last second. So in 2012, Notorious CUP drafted Calvin Johnson at number 7. And now these are all teams that drafted and ended up winning the championship that year. Todd Diamond, 2013, drafted 4th overall. Who'd you draft that year? Do you remember?
My first overall pick, Matt Ryan.
Correct. Matt Ryan, a quarterback, so wide receiver quarterback. Hot Tamales won the championship in 2014, drafted 11th. Do you remember who you drafted that year, Miguel?
Yeah, I think I drafted Eddie Lacy.
Correct. Good job. I mean, not good job because he didn't have a good year, but you still won the championship. So good job. A running back that time. 2015, Notorious CUP drafted 8th, picked up Julio Jones, another wide receiver. 2016, Supreme Clientele drafted 2nd overall and drafted Antonio Brown, another wide receiver. 2017, Kilgore Trout drafted 10th, drafted Drew Brees at QB. 2018, Lion Rip drafted 4th, picked up Antonio Brown, wide receiver. Aaron, the second year again, 2019, drafted 12th this time, of course, because he won it the year before. Picked up Michael Thomas, a wide receiver. 2020, the NWA drafted 4th, drafted Josh Jacobs, a running back. And last year, as we all remember, in 2021, he drafted 5th and selected Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback. So it was 5 wide receivers, 3 quarterbacks, and 2 running backs. So maybe wide receiver, Alan, if you're listening, maybe it's Cooper Kupp. All right, let's get into the MHA trivia.
When you play
MHA trivia.
you win or you die.
Lots of facts here to start this show. I love it. All right, guys, it's pretty simple. No cheating. And I don't think Mikey has notes. Maybe he does. I don't think he has notes for this. But, so can you guys, we'll go back and forth. And Todd's always behind, so he always gets to go first. Sorry, Miguel, you're just too good. But, so this is what I'm going to ask you the question. Mikey, if you guess it right, then you get a point. Mikey can guess. He gets a point. Whoever gets the 5 points first wins. You guys ready?
Yep.
Mikey, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So, can you guys name the last 10 number 1 overall draft picks in our league? Pretty simple. Todd, you go first.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes.
Very good. I just mentioned that. I was wondering if someone's going to get that. Good job. Todd picks up a point to you, Miguel. So, Patrick Mahomes in 2020.
I'll say Christian McCaffrey.
That is correct. Last year, of course, by the Belt Sanders. So we picked up the Belt Sanders last 2 number 1 overall picks. We are tied at 1-1. Back to you, Todd.
Saquon Barkley.
Oh, I am sorry. That is incorrect. He is not amongst those. Over to you, Miguel.
I'll go Le'Veon Bell.
Ooh, that's a good guess, but not on here. That is quite surprising, honestly. He's not one of the guys that was drafted number 1 overall in the last 10 seasons. Back to you, Todd.
Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown, is he on the list? He is not. I was surprised at that as well, considering how well Aaron did with him. But when Aaron picked him, not a number 1 overall guy. Back to Mikey.
I'm going to go Peyton Manning.
No Peyton Manning. Number 1 overall in the past 10 years, 2012 to 2021. Back to Todd.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Some big names in here.
Wow. I'm still wow. Okay.
I'm gonna have to start giving you guys some help on some of this, huh?
Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers is an answer.
Wow.
2012, in fact. Picked up by Supreme Clientele. Well done. He takes a 2-1 lead. Back to you, Miguel.
Let's see where I want to go. I'll go with Drew Brees.
Drew Brees, a quarterback. Correct answer, 2013 by Bayern Munich, which was Mark Babish. You are tied 2-2. Should I start throwing out hints to you guys now to speed this process up? We got to get to 5 points, and we're only at 2-2. So Todd, to you, I'm gonna give you a guess. One of these guys was drafted number 1 overall twice, and fairly recently. So the second, I guess this would have been the first time he did it was in 2019. Now that I'm helping you out even further.
2009.
And he's been selected number 1 overall twice.
Just throwing out. Jesus, I'm usually good with years. Oh my gosh, my brain hurts. I'll just go. God, I can't even. Dalvin
There's
Cook.
one other quarterback in this whole thing that you haven't mentioned yet. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. You mentioned Patrick Mahomes. There's one more quarterback.
It's gone number 1. Not Tom Brady.
No, Tom Brady is not amongst the number amongst the ones in this last 10 years. To you, Mikey, do you have a guess?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a stab at Adrian Peterson just because he was like the number 1 running back for years.
And that would be correct in 2016. Picked number 1 overall by Takes It in the Backfield. Well, that was one of the better names we had because someone finished last place, because that's usually how it works. All right, Todd, give me a guess here. If you don't have a guess, I might just give it to Mikey because it's going pretty long.
All right.
A couple of running backs are on this list.
Okay.
Actually, I think it's running backs the rest of the way.
It's running backs the rest of the way.
Well, you said there was one other quarterback. I'm trying to figure out who that is.
Okay, yeah, there's one other quarterback, couple running backs.
Marshawn Beast Mode? No, I didn't even
Who?
sound right in my. Marshawn Lynch? I mean, God, maybe
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch never really up there. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm very disappointed in you guys, but that's okay. So here's how it went the last 10 years. Christian McCaffrey last year, he was drafted by the Belt Sanders and with first overall. McCaffrey that year ended up finishing 39th. Obviously, he got hurt. 2 years ago, 2020, Patrick Mahomes was drafted by the Belt Sanders. Mahomes actually finished 3rd that year, and Belt Sanders finishing 12th. So, of course, Belt Sanders has finished 12th the last 2 years. 2019, Christian McCaffrey. So that was the guy that was twice selected first overall. In 2019, Kevin Eaton W selected him. McCaffrey finished first that year amongst running backs, and Kevin finished 5th overall. 2018, Todd Gurley was selected by Miles bye week. Gurley would finish 3rd that year, and Miles would finish 5th overall. And we already know, as we're going through this, that a champion has not come from the number 1 overall pick. So you know that's not coming up here. 2017, one of Todd's guys a few years ago, David Johnson. He was drafted by the NWA. He would finish 10th overall amongst running backs. NWA finished 11th that season. 2016, as we mentioned, Adrian Peterson. He was selected first overall. Robbie ended up finishing 6th, but not because of Adrian Peterson. Peterson only had 7 total points, only played in 3 games that whole season. 2015, the other quarterback, Andrew Luck. Selected by Aaron back then when he was called 4th and punt, but put the C where that P is, as we gave him a terrible name because he finished last that course the season before. Aaron would go on and finish 12th that year. 2014, Jamal Charles. How about that guy, the Kansas City Chief guy that had an incredible season? He would end up getting drafted by Venti. And then Venti would eventually actually finish 4th that year, and Jamal Charles finished 7th that year. And we got Drew Brees in 2013 and Aaron Rodgers in 2012. So there you go. Fun MHA trivia. Now the reason why we're here, we're going to talk about some sleepers. And of course, I don't know what everyone's definition of sleepers are, but guys that are going to overachieve, guys that aren't maybe being selected as high as some think. And so you guys feel like they're going to outperform their value. And so I told you guys to give me 1 quarterback sleeper, 2 running back sleepers, and 2 wide receiver sleepers. And we'll kind of gauge the timing of the show because we were going to get through some busts and some bold predictions. We want to get to as much as we can. So quarterback sleeper, we'll start with Todd. Who do you got?
All right, and this is going to obviously depend on gets through his injury, but I had Zach Wilson as one of my sleepers. Again, I just think how the offenses, the weapons they put around him, and is the second year. I just think he's now. Granted, the injury situation doesn't help, but hopefully he's not out too long. But Zach Wilson, I have is a quarterback sleeper.
Where do you have Zach Wilson, I guess, in your rankings, and maybe how high do you think he can reach? Or like, it's one thing to say he's a sleeper, but how do you feel about him in terms, is he a guy that people should look at if they're waiting on a quarterback, or is he an early backup candidate? Like, where do you see him kind of going in your opinion?
I see him as like a good, like, not as a starter, but kind of a good backup and maybe like a decent streamer quarterback as well. So, again, I understand it's still the Jets and it's the second year. I mean, I have Zach Wilson at number 16 in my rankings. So, for sure, I think depending on how your I'd say first at least 8 or 9 rounds go, if you really wanted to wait that long on a quarterback, I think Zach Wilson at that would be that far down would be a good value. Now, granted, we don't know yet with his injury because I don't think he's going to be starting week 1. That's going to be Joe Flacco. Ugh, that's got as a Jets fan, you got to just be like, come on, we can't even catch a break. So, but I think if you're maybe waiting for him, maybe as a backup, and then I think he's worth it there. But I think once he gets on the field and he's and gets more implemented with that new offense, his weapons and everything, I think he can surprise some people.
We haven't even gotten to the bold prediction section, and that's a pretty big bold prediction by Todd Diamond. Mikey, you can tell me about Zach Wilson or give me your sleeper.
I don't care about Zach Wilson.
Well, of course you don't.
I think you should care about Zach Wilson. I mean, we've seen what his thoughts are on Elijah Moore. I'm sure he would appreciate it if he had a good season. But you can give me your sleeper.
Well, I think I've been pretty consistent that mine is Tua.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, for me, it's hard. And I know Aaron likes to give me shit on this, but look.
Aaron listens to our podcast religiously. So what's up, Aaron?
It's hard for me to, like, realistically think about this. They improved on the offensive line. They improved at wide receiver. They improved at running back. And they now have an offensive coach. What reason would it be for Tua not to improve unless he's just not that guy?
It. Exactly. If he's not the guy, yeah. They've set him up incredibly well to succeed. Now, I still don't think their offensive line is going to be great, but they have improved it. But I see. I mean, it's there for him. Everything is there for him. And I hope he does well.
Yeah,
everything. I just don't know if we've seen flashes from him. I guess he's had a couple 50-point games and a 60-point game.
Yeah, I just think the pieces are in play. I find him, like, he's easily, draftable as a backup. There's no question in that. But he could be a fringe starter. He could be somebody, like, if you're like the last one or two guys drafting, like, hey, why not? Why not take a stab at him?
Yeah. Tough start to the season. Patriots, Baltimore, Buffalo. So if he can make it through that unscathed, things could go up. Although he'll play.
Wait a second. Like, Baltimore, Patriots. I mean, this is not.
Oh, come on, Miguel.
7 years ago.
I'm saying they're the top 5, but they're not bad defenses.
Hey, I watched Josh Allen.
Baltimore had a lot of injuries last year. They'll be better this year.
I watched the Bills in the wild card game. Like, they never punted against the Patriots in that playoff game.
You telling me that Bill Belichick isn't going to come in? I mean, if you're talking about just even fantasy, New England was a top defense for a while. Things may have gotten bad for them late.
They lost their top corner.
That's a tough schedule. All right. Mikey likes Tua. He's always liked Tua, though. So I can't be mad at him for being consistent. I can appreciate you. All right. I'll throw my guy out there. And my guy is Lamar Jackson. I know that he lost Marquise Brown, but I think Bateman comes in. I think Mark Andrews, obviously, top guy. We'll see how the running game comes out. But I feel like Lamar's going to have a chip on his shoulder. And obviously, I don't know if it was true today. I was just scrolling through Twitter. Something about him turning down a big contract. I don't know if that's true. But if that is the case, he turned down a buttload of money to prove that he's worth more. And we've seen what he can do when he's healthy. He's a top guy. He had 3 50-point games last year. Great offensive line. He can move. I have him currently ranked 10th. He could be better than that. If his rushing comes back, he only had 2 rushing touchdowns last year. We know he can get to 10 pretty easily. And if you get somewhere to 6 to 8, he can put himself in that 5, 6 ranking up quarterback. So I really like Lamar Jackson. I don't know if I have the balls to draft him, but we'll have to see how the draft goes because he's not a big completion guy, right? He's not going to rack up a ton of completions, but we've seen him throw for 30 touchdowns and run for 10. And that's enough to put you in a situation where you have a top guy. Contract year makes a difference. All right, let's get to some running back sleepers. We'll start off with Mikey this time.
Okay, I'm going to go with Devin Singletary.
Ooh, like it.
I saw a little bit. Part of what swayed me a little bit was watching him on Saturday. I know the Broncos were terrible, but I don't know. His last couple games during last season and then the playoff game, and then this is just more of an eye test thing. He just looks like he has more burst. And like, I feel like even though they drafted James Cook, like, I think the number one job is securely his. And I think it's a team that's going to run. I've been saying, I think they're going to run a little bit more and utilize him a little bit more. So I think this will be his career year.
Career year. Last year, he had 8 total touchdowns, 870 yards rushing, 40 receptions. If you include the playoffs last year, he had 9 touchdowns over the last 6 games. So something clicked for him. He's still a relatively young guy. James Cook, it didn't sound like he's been overwhelming folks in terms of preseason and in practice. And you got to worry about, of course, with Singletary is another guy that'll steal some rushing touchdowns, and that's Josh Allen. But, yeah. I mean, he's currently going around the 30 to 35 range, depending on who you're looking at. So a guy with a little upside, or, I don't know, lightning in a bottle. We'll see. Todd, what do you got in terms of a running back sleeper for me?
I have Mr. David Montgomery from the Chicago Bears. I think the having Justin Fields now in his second year, Montgomery is very versatile back as well. So I think, Montgomery takes another step, and I guess I'll save this part of it for the bold predictions, but I think Montgomery might surprise a lot of people. I have him ranked 16th in my rankings, but I think he can maybe even eclipse that even more. So I will go with David Montgomery as one of my running back sleepers.
Mikey, did you want to say something? It sounded like you maybe you made a noise, and I thought you meant to chime in.
No, I don't have anything against David Montgomery, but I don't have anything for him either.
Okay. Yeah. They may have the worst offensive line in the league, but he was still able to produce last year. And if Fields can even, I don't know, get better in any kind of fashion this year and his year too, then the offense should get a little better. So we'll see. I mean, if you believe in Khalil Herbert or Darrington Evans, it should be him toting him. He had 225 attempts, could be more this year. He also missed 4 games last year, so there could be more coming up for him. One sleeper that I had is Chase Edmonds. He's had a pretty good preseason so far. He's going kind of in the 25th running back range. It seems like he's kind of separated himself from the rest of those guys that we talked about in that running back addition. I don't know how many total, I'm not sure how many yards he's going to rush for, but if he's a guy, and we've seen him when he's healthy, he produced when he was over in Arizona when he was out there. And so for a guy that's going kind of in the mid 25, 26 range, there's guys above him that he could, jump over depending on, AJ Dillon is a backup. Chase Edmonds gets all the run and stays healthy. He's a guy that can catch 50 to 60 passes, even if he gets to 700 rush yards and pick up those touchdowns. There are other guys he's got to worry about in the Miami offense, but if you're Mikey and believes Tua is going to improve this offense, I think he's going to be a big beneficiary of it. So I kind of like Chase Edmonds. You guys have a second running back sleeper, Mikey?
The other one that I had was Brian Robinson.
Okay.
Washington Commanders. And this goes in line with at least one of my busts at running back being Antonio Gibson. I don't know. Yeah, it's just, I think you're seeing that they truly like Brian Robinson. He's getting a lot more run now with the ones, and it's at the expense of Mr. Antonio Gibson. So he's definitely somebody to look out for, especially on a team that has a quarterback that's mediocre at best.
Yeah, I think that's such a weird situation because Antonio Gibson's a good running back and a good fantasy running back. I think he was 15th and 17th in our league the last couple of years. A team that wants to run the ball, and you bring in this rookie. He's got the flash on. He's not, we've talked about the fumbling problems with Gibson. He's done it in the preseason and in practice, apparently. I just wonder how far he'll fall in terms of Gibson, and like who's going to pick him up. And then he goes out there and does what he's supposed to do, runs for 1,000 yards, rushes for 8 to 10 touchdowns. It'd be interesting to see if that's how it all plays out, despite all the preseason hype. Todd, did you have another running back sleeper?
I had a Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I don't like that pick. I'm sorry.
Okay.
As Todd said earlier.
No, it's more like that. It's got to go more at
a little more phlegm.
Yeah, more. You have to
a little more gag reflex.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Very good. No. The reason why, again, I think knowing there's no more Tyreek Hill, they're going to look to maybe Edwards-Helaire a little bit more to, besides toting the rock, trying to be more of that, versatile catching running back this upcoming season because there is no Tyreek Hill. So, I have him ranked 20th in my rankings. So I think he might have, a little bit chip on his shoulder because, so much hype when he can't, when he got drafted originally and so forth. So I think, obviously had a little down year and injuries and stuff like that. But I think this year, knowing, like I said, that they're going to maybe ask more of him now that with Tyreek Hill gone, they need another weapon besides, in my mind, obviously, that Travis Kelce's the number one guy. But I think Helaire can, maybe step it up a little bit more and be a bigger part of that offense.
No.
And can he though? If he just caught the ball more.
But
ball, put him in space. Like that was the whole point of them drafting him, I thought. And he hasn't done that, and he's not good at running the ball like through the middle and through tackles. He's terrible. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but his number in terms of yards after contact is one of the worst in the league in terms of qualified running backs. And so he's not a guy that's going to bulldoze anybody. You got to run around people. And if he just got the ball more, and I don't know if that's got to be a system thing. I don't know, but
no, that was
the job is. Who's scared of Ronald Jones at all?
I know, but that was. You're saying why he wasn't kept. No, because that was a Tyreek Hill problem because Tyreek Hill is so versatile. Helaire kind of just either got lost in the fold a little bit and just kind of tapered off a little bit.
A
Oh, I mean
little
a
bit.
lot. I mean a lot.
19 catches last season.
But again, that was
I don't
because
know.
Tyreek
I
Hill.
don't know if
It
just
wasn't
all of a
him.
sudden he started catching 60 passes.
I
Mikey?
know, but it wasn't.
There's too many guys there. Like they're kind of showing you like they're planning on having like some sort of roles for Edwards-Helaire and this new undrafted guy Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon in the passing game, and then Ronald Jones is there. Like,
Don't worry, McKinnon will just get hurt in the first few games. Don't worry about that.
but you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a
Yeah,
reason they
no.
have all these guys. Like, they don't trust Edwards-Helaire to be that guy, the bell cow.
But I think now they're. I don't know. I think now they're going to have to because Hill's not there anymore. And you were talking about he didn't catch the balls, but because Tyreek Hill was there because they were force feeding Tyreek Hill the ball. Tyreek Hill might as well have been the running back for everything. So I think that might change. I think that might change. This season a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy I always look at because he's a number one running back in an offense that scores a ton of points. I would love it if that was the case. I got to see it before I believe it, and at that point he'll be gone in the draft. At least in my opinion. One last guy that we'll talk about in terms of running back sleepers, and I actually didn't have one. I thought I typed one up, but I'm gonna guy that I'm just looking through here, and it's Rashad Penny. I know he can't stay healthy for nothing. So he's almost cursed on the air here, but he was so good in his last 5 games last year. 671 yards, 6 touchdowns, averaged 6.3 yards per carry. Yes, they spent that second-round pick on Kenneth Walker, but he's hurt right now. And then you could come back and say, well, guess who they have as quarterback over there? They traded their quarterback to the Denver Broncos, but Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams were fine. Obviously, the offensive line probably not as good as the Broncos. Not that they're super great, but they've added 3 new starters. And so things could get better. And Penny was good running back with him last year, despite the bad offensive line. So I think he's the guy that can move up in the round. I've liked watching him. He could be a guy that can get to 1,008 touchdowns. And that's just a little bit better. That's 200 yards and 2 touchdowns better than we did last year in 10 games. He missed 7 games last year. So he's a guy I think that may be undervalued heading into the draft. Let's go into some wide receiver sleepers, Miguel.
Okay, so I was trying to decide which more I wanted to talk about, and I thought that I talked enough about Elijah in the last one, so I'm going to go.
Maybe you should talk about it some more because it's crazy. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh no, I'm going to talk about Rondale.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You mentioned him on that last show.
Yeah, and I just think that the opportunity is perfect there. No Hopkins for the first 6. Type of possession guy, second year. A lot of these receivers take that next jump. I think he'll fly under the radar. I like what I've seen from him, and I think he's got a good chance to really fit that sleeper kind of quality this year.
Yeah, he's going around the 50s, like after 50. And are you worried at all? I mean, Marquise Brown is there, and they do have your boy Zach Ertz there, and they do have Mr. Connor over there too that can catch 30 to 40 balls. Do you feel like you could get enough to be fantasy worthy?
Yeah, I mean, I think Marquise Brown is there for like the big playability, but they need somebody that's consistent. That's going to be like that possession, third down type guy. Teams with good offenses have these type of guys. Like the Raiders have Hunter Renfrow, somebody like that. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be that type of breakout like he was last year, but I think it's worth a flyer for somebody, like you say, that's ranked down low in the 50s. The opportunity's there.
No, I love it. Let's find someone in the 50s. They'll be drafted near the last 5 rounds of our draft. And, some people are drafting backup tight ends and defenses and kickers at that point. And if he's there for Miguel or someone who likes Rondale more and they pick him up, especially in those early stages before Hopkins gets back, and maybe take a game or 2 for Hopkins to get in football shape. I don't know, but it's not a bad thought. Todd, give me a wide receiver sleeper.
All right, I'm going to go with Chase Claypool. Obviously now, with with Juju completely out of the picture now, it's him and Deontay Johnson. Obviously, Deontay Johnson's the number one guy, but we've seen with Chase Claypool, really, that potential, and I'm not saying Chase Claypool can take over games by any means. He's not there yet, but I think now he's being a bigger part now, being a bigger part of this offense now. I think he'll he'll take another step, even regardless of the quarterback position. I mean, side note, right now it's really between Trubisky and Pickett. So, to be honest with you, I think Pickett let him throw the rock. I think he might win that job. But for Claypool, for a wide receiver who's got the speed, who can you can move him around all around the field, I think Chase Claypool could definitely again take another step up of being in that kind of that he's kind of in the tier 3 a little bit, so he could maybe take another step and get into that tier 2 of wide receivers.
And that,
Go ahead. I think we have the same question, Miguel. Go
well,
ahead.
does it worry you that he's been playing behind George Pickens, who is who they drafted in the 3rd round, and they've been using him more in the slot than the outside so far in the preseason?
And if I might be mistaken on this, Todd, but wasn't he your pick to be the rookie wide receiver that had the most points, or was that someone else?
No,
Was that Garrett Wilson?
That was Garrett Wilson.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. My mistake.
No, you're fine. The only reason I say that, is, yeah, you're right. I mean, they've been playing him in the slot, but I just think when it comes to when the regular season starts, because either way, you're going to have whether you have a rookie quarterback or kind of a journeyman quarterback at this point. I think they're going to want they're going to look to Claypool maybe a little bit more for that safety blanket, because Pickett's been great, but I just think when the regular season starts, sometimes those jitters, and Pickens is not he's not a Jamar Chase, he's not a Justin Jefferson where you're thinking, okay, we trust him. So I think that's why I think they're gonna look to Claypool too. I mean, obviously Johnson's gonna be the first option no matter what, but I think Claypool is gonna be like, okay, he's a little bit more seasoned, of course, and everything like that. So that's why I think Claypool, is gonna be a little bit of a sleeper.
Okay, so he's buying the Claypool juice, and I just say that because Claypool likes to toot his own horn, and so he's talking about how he could be a top 5 receiver in the league. Guess we'll see. One guy I'll throw out there, and this kind of goes hand in hand, if you will, with the Lamar Jackson. That's just Rashad Bateman. With Marquise Brown out of town, Lamar Jackson's got to throw it to someone, along with Mark Andrews. And we saw Marquise Brown finished 22nd overall last year. And I think Bateman, a few inches taller than Brown, he's a guy that can actually help increase Lamar Jackson in his throwing percentage, because he's got some height. He's got some wingspan on him. He can go up and grab some balls. And I thought he showed out for his first year, had some good moments last year. And so for him to be the number one guy in an offense that I think Lamar Jackson is ready to kind of get back to where he was a few years ago, Bateman would be the guy that benefits. We know Andrews is going to get his targets. So I'm kind of interested to see what Bateman can bring to the table. And then we'll go to Mikey if he's got another wide receiver.
Well, I mean, my other
was
one
your other one
was Elijah Moore. So
okay, sure.
But you guys know how I feel about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, having Flacco in that first game, it's one game. I'm not too concerned about that. And who knows? I mean, Flacco's going to need to throw it to somebody. But yeah, I mean, I liked what I saw last year. Limited sample size because of the injury, but I just really, really feel like he's going to break out this season.
Todd, how about you give me your second wide receiver sleeper?
Well, I will go with another New York Jet.
Oh
And
my
I'm
gosh, you two. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I
Jets
I was
prolific
expecting
offense in 2022.
it. Like, um, now again, I keep saying I'll say this on every podcast. I was not, I wasn't very high on this wide receiver class. It didn't have, the
You were
you
the
know
only one.
I
You
was the
drafted
only
6
one.
of them in the first round.
Yeah. I know. We had the conversation before. It's just Mikey
We
said,
did. We did.
yeah. But I Garrett Wilson because again, Garrett Wilson I think was the at least out of the best out of that wide receiver class. I think he's athletic enough. He's got that good speed. And if you put him on the other side, Elijah Moore, I think that'll help out a little bit. But I think Garrett Wilson at least out of the rookie wide receivers this year will be the best. Will be the best of the best.
Well, let me ask you, Todd.
Yes.
Will Garrett Wilson have more points than Elijah Moore?
Yes.
I would. So you have Wilson higher in your rankings than Elijah Moore?
Yes. See, let's see. I have it right here. I did have it up. 1 second. Sorry, I have my running back and my quarterbacks up. I didn't have my wide receiver.
Sure,
1
no,
second.
that's fine.
Come on, computer. Okay, it is. Let's see. I had Wilson at number 23, and I had Moore at. Do I even have Moore ranked?
So I guess that means he likes Garrett Wilson more.
Yeah,
than Moore.
just a schmidt. Yeah, I don't even. Yeah, no, I have Elijah Moore number 29th. So.
And you had Wilson where?
23rd.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, you do like Garrett Wilson. So then do we board bet this? Who scores more points as a Jets wide receiver, Elijah Moore or Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, I'm down to do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, I'm going to take the Elijah Moore side.
Okay.
So we have another board bet, and we'll go through all these when we get back after the draft, because we'll pick up a couple as we go along through the season as well.
Okay.
Okay. So Todd's liking Garrett Wilson. I'll just quick. I talked about this guy last time when we talked about wide receivers, but Amon-Ra St. Brown. I really liked what he did in his first year in an offense in terms of, balling out. Was great in the last 6 games. Yeah, he had 6 straight games of 10 or more points, 4 20-point games. And so at that end, he was averaging close to 20 points per game and 90 receptions as a rookie. He's only building that chemistry with Jared Goff. Obviously, with that offense, it could improve. Obviously, Hawkinson was out for a while and Swift was hurt. And so if you get those guys back, Amon-Ra is being drafted kind of around the 40s or mid 30s. So he could jump up into the late 20s if things go right for him. I mean, he had 90 receptions. If you get a few more touchdowns, he could shoot up the rankings there. All right. So those are our sleepers. Let's get into the guys we think are just going to. I'm sorry, Miguel, you want to say something?
Well, I think you made a pun that you probably didn't mean to. He plays in Detroit. He plays in Detroit. Now he's shooting his way up the rankings.
All right. Come on. All our Detroit fans are just going to call into the show. Send me just terrible emails and tweets. Boo. That's crazy. All right. Back to the busts. Mikey Renault, the big bust over here. Told you guys to give me a quarterback bust. Who you got, Miguel?
Okay. Eric, don't hate me on this, but mine is Lamar Jackson.
Yes. Awesome. Maybe it's time for a board bet. But yeah, go ahead. Tell me why.
I get the contract year, and I thought about that. Like, he has everything to play for, but somebody that plays his style, like, I could just almost see it happening again where he ends up getting hurt again, and then that team goes off the rails again. He's never a guy, like, I just think he doesn't fit our league. Like, he had that one good year when people were still trying to figure him out, but him not being a big completion guy, I don't know. I feel like you're going to be having him as your quarterback. Like, you're almost sweating it every week. Like you never feel comfortable.
Yeah, I understand that, and he kind of fits in that mold with Cam Newton, right? Where Cam Newton would, when he's healthy and things are going perfect,
Man,
he's the best quarterback. He's the best quarterback in our fantasy league because he doesn't need to throw for 30 completions because his rushing is going to make more than make up for it.
you're making me feel better about this.
Oh, come on. Cam Newton was being drafted in the first round for a few years. I won't say a long time, but for a few years because of what he was able to bring to the table. I think he won CUP a championship, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2012.
I was never a fan.
I understand, and most of the time, and I'm kind of with you. In most cases, and I do have pocket passers ahead of him. But I mean, he was putting up stellar numbers before he got hurt. I mean, he had a 51-point game. He had an 86-point game, 63 points. But I mean, you have your 30s and your low 40s in there as well. But
Yeah,
I mean, everything went so wrong for the Ravens last year. So much injuries on both sides of the ball. And eventually they just said, you know what, let's just shut him down and let him heal. And I just think if he's healthy and he's going to try to ball out for that contract, get that team back to the playoffs. And I wouldn't expect it to happen every year because you're right. It just one bad hit, one bad move. Losing Marquise Brown definitely gives me pause because those two had quite the connection. But in the running game, that's not 100%, I guess, in tow. Like people are still hurt with the J.K. Dobbins and obviously Gus Edwards. I skipped over the news today, but Gus Edwards dealing with an injury and he's not going to play for the first 4 games. So they'll rely on him even more. I mean, you don't want that, in my honest opinion. You want to be able to run the ball to open up the pass, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, 246 completions, but he missed a bunch of games last year. But I mean, still 767 yards rushing. I mean, those rushing numbers come up in a big way. But I hear you. Believe me, I hear you. I for someone who's had Peyton Manning and Drew Brees, the pocket passers do more damage than those guys that run the ball. But he also had a season that was quite incredible. And he was one. So take that for what it's worth. Todd, who is your quarterback? Did I ask you, Mikey, who your quarterback? You did. Todd, your turn, right?
Yeah. So mine is, and granted they got maybe the best wide receiver in football in the trade, but I think Derek Carr is there's gonna be so many cameras and eyeballs on that Raiders team. But I think Derek Carr, because again, the AFC West is going to be such a gauntlet of, every single week. And I think Derek Carr is definitely going to have, he's going to have a down year. I think he's going to have a down year. And obviously I think, you got to figure, but just spitballing that G's probably going to draft Derek Carr. Maybe pretty high because of that, because this the offense and what it is. But I think Derek Carr is going to have a lead. There's going to be so much, pressure to some degree because they went out and got Devontae Adams, and I think Derek Carr is just, it's going to be. He's just not going to be. This is not going to be, this big, year that we think, that everybody thinks he's going to have.
Mikey, it sounds like you have a retort in there.
Well, no, it's interesting because I have Derek Carr as part of my bold predictions. So,
ooh, all right, we'll keep that in mind as we go through. Todd, not thrilled or maybe not excited about the potential for Derek Carr this season. Got to find my list over here now. It might be interesting. Or no, you know what? You guys know. You guys heard me bitch about Dak Prescott all season long. And, I still have him high in terms of where I have him ranked. But gosh, he's not an efficient quarterback. And he loses his favorite target in Amari Cooper. The offensive line got worse. He was sacked 30 times in 2021. He had a 70-point game, and he had a couple, I think 4 60-point games, but he had some bad games too. So you got to be able to take the bad with the good. And of course, Gallup's not ready yet. Tolbert, he's a 3rd-round pick. James Washington's out for the year. I don't know. I'm nervous, and I feel like he's going to be, at some point, I'll have to draft him, or that'll be the quarterback that's next on my list. And maybe I was just so frustrated with him because he was good. He was really good at times and then really bad at others. And you guys get texts from me all day long when I'm watching Dak Prescott. Like, he's running around for his life. He makes bad throws. He doesn't run. And maybe another year away from his major ankle injury, he can run a little bit more. He only ran 146 times. And I think that's part of his game, is to be able to run the ball, and not like to the extent of Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts, but enough to get himself out of danger, to pick up a couple of yards, make something happen. He also had 6 fumbles last year. Like, I know the stats look incredible. He finished 6th in our league in points. I have him ranked 7th. And maybe that's high. The Fantasy Pros has him 10th, but our league is different, right? Point per completion. So I think that plays a factor, but things could go bad for him, or even worse than last year. So that's a guy I kind of have on my bust radar. I don't know if I'm being too hard on him considering some of the games he had, but I don't know. That's me. All right, let's talk about running back busts. Back to you, Miguel.
Okay. So,
am I going to hate you for this one too?
No, but like this one, it could almost be bold predictions, but I try and think of scenarios of what could happen. And I don't know. I just have this thing in my mind where I think Najee Harris is going to be running into a brick wall all season.
Todd's crying. Todd's shedding tears as we speak.
Great, Mikey.
Continue. I see your point.
Look, Todd, I'm not saying it is going to happen, but we were asked to come up with what we could,
I know.
No,
I love it.
I look at that offensive line and how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it took a lot of work for him to get what he got last year, and he got there, and they had to just continually feed him.
Yeah, but that's what I said. They're gonna force.
And Mikey hit him, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just look at the people like not being afraid of either quarterback. That we don't even know who it's going to be at this point.
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree with you because there's the thing. If they go with the rookie, okay, they're gonna just hone in on Harris. I get that, and even if it's Trubisky too, they're gonna hone in on, because teams are like, well, Big Ben's not back there. I mean, obviously they weren't scared of Big Ben the last 2 years anyway, but I just think they're gonna find every kind of possible way to get Harris the ball, because they're gonna know that's their best offensive weapon is Harris. But I understand with the offensive line, I get that. It doesn't help the fact, but I just think Harris knows, like, okay, he's gonna have to try everything he can, and in retrospect of the situation, that translates into reality and fantasy, because they're going to just get him the ball, almost try to get him the ball almost every time if they can help it.
Didn't we just talk about Chase Claypool and George Pickens and Deontay Johnson? I mean, it's not like he's the only guy in the vicinity. They've got other guys.
But if you're ranking the offensive weapons, Harris is the number one guy.
Oh, for sure. But what you're saying is they're going to force feed him the ball because he's their only option. That's all they have in order to try to win games.
Because I think
talked about Chase Claypool.
Yeah, but I think it's just because depending on who's going to be the quarterback, too. Because a running back, if they go with Pickens, not Pickens, but Pickett. There we go. Rookie quarterback's best friend are 2 positions: tight end and a running back. So if it's going to be him, he's like, okay, Harris is going to be going to be that safety blanket. So I just got to hope that safety blanket, carries the ball about, more than 50 times a game. But
Well, you do have Pat Fryermuth too, who was solid last year.
yeah, that's one of Mikey's guys right there.
I can see your point. Volume is key, obviously, and that's why. And I'm sure Mikey's doesn't have him like ranked 20th. He's just saying that there's a possibility he could fall from where maybe he's going a little too high in his opinion. I mean, Fantasy Pros has him ranked as I got to click over here, the 5th best running back.
Yeah. So exactly. So that I think you made my point. So I don't think like he's going to be he's going to finish 25th or anything like that, but based on where he's being drafted, I think there's a chance that maybe he's not. Maybe he's being a little overdrafted.
Fantasy Pros has him over Derrick Henry, and I get it, PPR, but I'm not drafting Harris over Derrick Henry. That's nuts.
Yeah, it's a little crazy.
PPR or not, that is nuts. Okay, Todd, running back bust from you.
All right, I'm gonna go with Leonard Fournette. Now, obviously, this is kind of contradicting, with the Harris situation because of the bad offensive line. Well, the Bucks just lost one of their best offensive linemen to a season-ending injury, and we all know that has to help. That the offensive lineman they lost that helps Tom Brady, but that also hurts Tom Brady, and that's going to hurt Leonard Fournette. So, it might be a lot of quick passes, but I just think Fournette might teeter off a little bit because defenses might, hone in on Fournette a little bit, and there might be a wall there, and I don't think he has the Dragons to blow down that wall. So there you
go. That's only funny because we were talking about dragons from Game of Thrones breaking down walls, and Todd brought that up. That's actually not bad. I just wish the audience would have heard it before because that would made everything. Fournette, I don't think the offensive line's bad, even despite they still have really good players over there on the offensive line. It's not as dire as the previous situation we were talking about, and I think the big thing for Fournette is catches. If he can catch 70 more balls again, he's going to be a top 15 guy in an offense that scores a lot. But yeah, I can see where Fournette could kind of revert back to injury prone, can't run between the tackles, won't catch balls. But it's hard to not get excited about Leonard Fournette in that type of offense. With Brady back, by the way, I mean, he was gone for 10 days, and then now he's back, and maybe I didn't really move him for my rankings. I was thinking about it once Brady was gone, but I figured he'd be back in time. Didn't sound like it was an injury or contemplating retirement or whatever. So interesting to see. One guy that I had as a bust, and this is no surprise for those who listen to the podcast. How about James Conner?
Oh, there it
fluke.
is.
No, I don't think he's a fluke. The thing I thought about when I was looking over his numbers were, I mean, he scored 18 touchdowns. That's absurd. That's not happening again. Let me ask you guys, give me a number. What do you think? How many touchdowns will he score this year?
I'll say.
So I'm gonna go ahead, Todd.
I was gonna say maybe I'll give him 11.
Mikey.
I'll give him 12.
Okay. So what I said was even if he just got 10, and I'm only doing this because the math's easier, but in terms of even if he still got 10, let's say last year he scored 10 touchdowns, he would have ranked number 22 in terms of our league. Now, last year in our league, Connor finished, as I scroll down to find his name, 5th. And a lot of it was because of the touchdowns. I mean, he only ran for 752 yards, and he only ran for 3.7 yards per carry. He wasn't a very efficient running back. And we've talked about it on this show. Running, touchdowns are fluky. And so I'm not saying he's not going to still get the goal line carries. Marquise Brown is back. If Kyler Murray's rushing ability kind of returns back to form when he had 11 touchdowns, things could kind of go sway in the direction away from Connor. And Mikey knows we all talked about this. Their offensive line's not great, and they really didn't do anything to change it. So unless he goes out there and scores 18 touchdowns again, he's not going to finish anywhere near 5th. And I don't have him ranked as such either, and not a lot of people do. I don't think anybody's got him ranked 5th. But, he's a guy that if he gets down to 6 touchdowns and he's averaging 3.7 yards per carry, he's not going to be super exciting to have on anyone's fantasy team. We're running kind of long here, so I'll have you guys, if you guys want to give me your next running back bust, we'll get to those pretty quick so we can get to the bold predictions and end this show.
Okay.
Mikey, we'll start with you.
Okay. Well, don't like Cordero Patterson.
I don't know if anybody really does.
He was very, very strong for most of last season. I think kind of came on just like as a total surprise. Nobody thought he was going to be in the role he was. Didn't finish strong at all. He, could be that teams finally figured him out, but I don't like that Atlanta offense as a whole, so I'll keep it simple. I don't like Cordero Patterson.
It stinks. It stinks. It stinks.
It stinks.
Atlanta's going to be bad this year. Todd, who do you got? Who's your second running back bust?
I mean, and now granted he hasn't played yet, but I just think he's gonna hit the wall. But Travis Etienne,
really?
I know there's been a lot of hype around him, but this is his first year, and I get running backs. I get are the easiest position to try and transition from college to the NFL. I get it, but I just think not having a rookie year, and this is really going to be obviously his rookie year. It's still the Jags, but I don't know. Hey, prove me wrong, but I just don't think he's going to have that, oh my God, wow season that everybody's thinking he's going to have. Again, he's very versatile, but yeah, it's going to be tough because this is really his first year. This is his first year. And the thing is, you don't know unless Trevor Lawrence, obviously Trevor Lawrence hopefully will maybe take that next step. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of Etienne.
Didn't they play together in college?
They did, but okay. It's just more of, I don't know. It's
interesting. No, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't done anything. Yeah. So depending on where people are drafting him, he's going as a 17th overall running back.
Yeah,
with guys like Zeke and Montgomery, a guy you really like, Cam Akers, Dobbins.
Yeah, that to
I
me,
can see it.
Yeah, that to me just is that's just too high. That's too. I mean, I think he's ultimately going to be good, but I just think since this is his first year, just pump the brakes just a little bit. Yeah, no, got to get the sound effects in there.
Those are awesome sound effects. I got to figure out how to use that in the next intro.
Fantastic.
Way to go. That was good. My quick bust. I talked about Miles Sanders, guy who's supposed to be number one pick. A lot of people are on Philadelphia, or number one running back. People are on Philadelphia because they picked up AJ Brown. Jalen Hurts is supposed to take a step forward. Miles Sanders, already dealing with a hamstring injury, has missed 9 games the last 2 seasons. How many red zone carries will he really get with Jalen Hurts in the mix? I've seen him go kind of in the kind of mid to early 20s. I have him ranked outside the 30s. I know the big thing is they love to run, right? They're one of the more run-heavy offenses, but when they bring in guys like A.J. Brown, they want Jalen Hurts to throw more. Does that take away from what they were trying to do? And they did open things up later in the season and last season. So we'll kind of wait and see. I mean, the offensive line's great, but I don't know. Miles Sanders, he had his good rookie year, but I don't know if he's really done much since then. Mikey, give me a wide receiver bust. Give me your most important one.
Mine's Amari Cooper. I don't like the move to Cleveland. I don't like the fact that it's going to be Jacoby Brissett as the quarterback. And I have never been a fan of Amari Cooper's body language in general. I don't know. He's too inconsistent for me.
Appreciate that. Todd, yours?
I'm going to go with Terry McLaurin. I just think it's Carson Wentz throwing the ball, and we've seen the last few years with Carson Wentz isn't very it's not good. So I think McLaurin's gonna suffer just a little bit with Wentz.
My wide receiver bust, Devonta Smith, going back to the Eagles. Already dealing with a groin injury. He's not going super early. He's going in the early 30s. Guys around, but he's around guys like Alan Lazard, Tyler Lockett, DeAndre Hopkins, Hunter Renfrow, all guys that would take over him. And you talk about he's a number 2 guy. Are we a consensus on that? AJ Brown's the number 1 guy.
Mm-hmm.
Devonta Smith's number 2. Okay. So let's take a look at these number 2 wide receivers for the Eagles the last 4 years. Last season, I can't even say his name. He's that terrible. Watkins, 43 receptions, 1 touchdown. 2020, Travis Fulgham, 38 receptions and 4 touchdowns. 2019, Nelson Aguilar, 39 receptions, 3 touchdowns. In 2018, Nelson Aguilar, 64 receptions and 4 touchdowns. And people are high on this Eagles offense, but even those times when the days were good for the Eagles, their second wide receiver never really reaped all the benefits. Now the system changes, quarterbacks changes, all that fun stuff. But he's just not someone I'm super high on compared to at least the guys that he's being drafted around. All right, let's get to these bold predictions. We'll try to get through them all if we can. We're hitting just over an hour now. So I'll let Todd go first so he can just shock the heck out of us as we go forward. But bold predictions are supposed to be shocking. So
yes, but my bold predictions, they're just a smidge more shocking. But let I give the people what they want. My bold prediction is Najee Harris will finish as the number 1 running back. He will rush for 2,000 yards. He will have at least 15 touchdowns this season, and he'll have at least 30 catches, and he'll catch 5 touchdown passes.
Okay. All right. So all right. I'm willing to accept the 2,000 yards as a bold prediction. The 30 catches is not bold at all, considering he had 74 catches last
74.
year. So,
I think okay. All right. Let me.
He's just his running is going to be just so successful. They're just not even going to throw to him because they're just going to hand it off to him every time.
Yeah.
All right. That is quite the bold prediction. What do you got, Miguel?
right.
Hard to top that one.
It is. But I'm going to Derek Carr here.
Oh, yeah. All right.
And I'm going to say that he finishes as a top 5 quarterback.
Ooh. All right.
The weapons are there. As much as I don't like McDaniels, I respect him as an offensive play caller.
He's a douchebag.
I feel like their defense hasn't improved all that much, so they're going to need to score points. So I'm willing to put it out there that I think he's going to have a pretty darn good year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. We're talking bold predictions. 5 is bold. 5 is bold.
Yeah.
But how on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you he gets to number 5? Like you've been talking about this since we started up the show again.
Well, it's bold.
Would you be super surprised if he got to 5?
No,
in your heart of hearts.
Because when I think about, they've got maybe the best one of the best slot receivers in the league. They have one of the best tight ends in the league, and maybe the best receiver in the league. Definitely in the red zone, him and Cooper Kupp,
Yeah.
I mean, it's there.
It is.
And it's not like he's a bad quarterback. Like he's never been like elite, but like just given those type of weapons around him and a really good offensive coach, it's there. The opportunity.
It's bold. I'm not saying he's not gonna have a good season. I'm just trying to figure out bold wise, but it's bold because you're talking about He's going to be up there with the Josh Allens. He's going to be up there with the Justin Herberts and the Patrick Mahomes and the Kyler Murrays and the Tom Bradys. So it's bold. With an outside chance it could happen if everything goes right. I don't think I would bet on it, but yeah, it's bold. I'll just throw in my quarterback. I think Jared Goff finishes as a top 12 guy. And it's supposed to be bold, so it's wild. I don't know if it's bold enough, but he's never really had great years. He's got great he's got great pass catchers in Swift, St. Brown, and Hawkinson. Offensive line's a top 5 unit. Of course, they'll be behind in games. We'll have to throw. He's always been a decent completion guy, not the best, but that was never his worst quality. It's mostly getting those touchdown passes, and if he can get that number up, you talk about. I got to scroll down on my list here. The number 10 guy last year, Kirk Cousins, over 4,000 yards, 33 touchdowns. If you're talking about getting into the top 12, it'd have to be somewhere near those numbers. It's a bold prediction, but I think pieces are in place that he could have a better season than we have seen him in the past. But it's bold. It's supposed to be. Todd, to you, if you have another one.
Yes, I do. I've got Michael Pittman Jr. will finish as a top 5 wide receiver.
That's so funny. That's one of mine.
Oh, cool. Fantastic. Yeah, all right.
Go ahead.
On the same page. Yes. Now, granted, we all know who the quarterback is. It's Matt Ryan. We've all been that. We have this conversation almost every time. I've seen the good Matt Ryan. I've seen the bad Matt Ryan. I've seen even the worst Matt Ryan. But I believe new place for Matt Ryan to some degree. Again, Mikey, I'm not saying I'm drafting him. I know you're probably thinking that, but I think for Michael Pittman Jr., he has shown that he can be a number 1 guy, and I think this year, he'll prove that. So I think he will finish as a top 5 wide receiver.
Here's what I'll have to say about it. Calvin Ridley finished 5th in 2020 with our boy Matty Ice Ryan. Ridley, and of course we saw what Pittman did last year in his rookie year. He finished 16th amongst wide receivers with Carson Wentz. Calvin Ridley finished 20th in his rookie season with Matty Ice. So I already like him to do better than 16th. But if he is a top-notch wide receiver, can he get to 5? That's probably a little too much. But that's what this is supposed to be, as a bold prediction.
Oh,
my issue with him being able to reach that is that if you're going to be a receiver that reaches that, you've got to be able to put the ball in the end zone. And with the Colts, he is not that first option to get that done. Like, they're so... Jonathan Taylor had like 40 more red zone carries than the next running back in the NFL. Like, it's so crazy how often they use him once they get down there. That's my issue. Like, I just
those top receivers score double-digit touchdowns.
Right, and I just don't know if he can get there.
Yeah, it's a bold prediction. I think I have. I don't have it. Where do I have them? I have to find my lists everywhere. There are lists everywhere. So I have Pittman 11th in my rankings, and so he'd have to be up there with guys like Devontae Adams. That's who I have 5th. Is he going to put up those numbers? Probably not. But I think he's going to put up good numbers, and if things go right. But it's a bold prediction.
This makes Sunday interesting. You or Todd, who ends up getting him?
Who ends up getting him? Mikey, give me you have another bold prediction for us?
Yeah, and this is going to go against my rankings.
Love it. Screw up your rankings so we can bitch to you about it. Go for it.
But I'm going to say that Jalen Waddle finishes ahead of Tyreek Hill.
Oh, man, that's bold. Love that.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Now, is this more, he'll be targeted more? I know this is far-fetched, but what kind of pushed you in that direction?
So I feel like that part of the equation is a given, that he'll end up with more, like be targeted more because he's built that established relationship with Tua already. I feel like it's gonna take a little while for like we haven't seen anything preseason wise with Tyreek and Tua. We've just heard rumblings.
Right.
Like he had such that well established connection with Patrick Mahomes. I just feel like it's gonna take a while for that to get going. And one of the underrated parts, I know, as much as I like Tua, like it's so different when you have a, like even Jerry Rice mentioned it once, like going from Montana to Steve Young, when you have a going from a right-handed quarterback to a left-handed quarterback, like it's a big deal. Like I don't know, it's a bold prediction, but it's
Yeah.
something I could see.
No, I think it's cool. I think if that pans out, that'd be quite interesting, just based on where both those guys are being drafted. But definitely not out of the realm of possibility. So pretty cool. Todd, you have one more for us?
No, those were two. Those were two.
Those are the two?
Those were the two. Yeah.
Okay. Last one I had is Houston rookie running back Dameon Pierce will finish as a top 12 running back. He was held out of last preseason game, which means he's the starter in that offense, right? You don't play your starters. Yes, it's the Texans offense, which has not been good the last few 3, 4, 5 years. But we saw David Johnson finish 21st not too long ago after having 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. And success can be had even on bad offenses. And the offensive line got a little better from last year. And so if he gets all the carries, and it's going to be him and Brandon Cook show. If Dameon Pierce was a beast in college, if you can turn those numbers over and running backs have an easier time of kind of reverting that into the pro game quicker than maybe obviously we've seen through wide receivers and quarterbacks. And so if he's a starter from day one, and he's going incredibly low, I think he's going somewhere in the late 30s, maybe 40s. Because, I mean, it's the Texans, and it just doesn't sound sexy. 37th in fantasy pros. And so, he has a long way to go to finish as a top 12. But can he pass Leonard Fournette and Javonte Williams? It's bold, but I think there's a path to success. And, a lot has to happen for it to go right. You got to get those touchdowns, right? If you can be a top 12 guy, got to be able to score points, or score touchdowns, I should say. So I just thought that was interesting. A really bold one because no one's looking at him really at all, just because the Texans aren't planning or aren't seen to do a lot this year. Well, there you go. Bold predictions, sleepers, busts. Of course, we'll look back on this as we go through the season at the end of the year, but kind of cool to go through and look, give you the audience a head start on the draft, right? Because if you listen to this before the draft here this Sunday, be like, oh, Eric likes Michael Pittman. If you like him more than me, you may have to take him sooner. So that's why it's cool. It's not cool for us who have to give this information, and then you get to use it to your benefit, while the rest of us just have to figure things out. Especially since we're drafting 3rd, 6th, and 9th. That has not won a championship in the last 10 years. We're behind the 8 ball, guys.
Yeah.
We're screwed.
What the heck, man?
Should we just cancel the season?
Yeah, that's not gonna be no fun. I'm gonna go to the draft knowing, God, I'm already lost already.
Guess we just got to play spoiler instead.
Yeah.
This Sunday.
Yeah, I'm excited and ready to go, ready to draft, ready to eat some good food, see everybody. This is gonna be this is gonna be awesome. Like I said, this is our draft, our league. I always say this is the most unique one I've I've seen and read. Man, granted the only difference is with our league is there's no really punishment. I don't think we'd ever go crazy like, yeah, whoever comes in last has to get a tattoo and the rest of the league gets to pick. Yeah,
we're adults now.
Yeah,
that's when you're younger and you have more time, and a lot of the folks a good portion of our league has kids and families and serious jobs, and we just don't do that anymore.
Yeah,
trophy is enough.
That's
bragging rights is enough.
Yeah, that's the thing is winning the league, the money, that's great and all, but at the end of the day, I think most of us agree we want the trophy. We want the trophy. The money's cool, don't get me wrong, but the trophy is what you really want. Like you just really
Trophies.
like the Tiki trophy. That's what I want. That's I mean, money's great, but
Mikey, is it the trophy or is it the bragging rights?
No, I just want to see Chauncey.
Chauncey. Is Chauncey going to show up to the draft?
No.
Chauncey.
No, but
Chauncey.
yeah, it's the trophy.
Is it like, I mean, I don't know if it's because I live with Aaron and I have to hear his crap when he wins all the time. Like, I feel like it's bragging rights. Like, if Aaron didn't say word one all season and he just picked up his trophy and left, then fine. But I can't stand it when you guys win.
Well, it is for me because I want to get to 4.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get another one because it's been so long.
Yeah,
I want to get one before I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I get hit by a car next year, I want to have that trophy before I go, just so that first 3 were a fluke, because that was a long time ago, folks.
Yeah.
We talk about the last 10 years. I didn't win a championship in the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Sad.
I mean, yeah, 10 years for you. Mikey, it's been how many years?
It's been longer than 10.
Longer
than 10.
It's been what? It's been, math is right. Let's see. 2013.
Yeah, let's not do math here at 11:30 at night.
Let's see. 2013 is the last time I won it. Let's see. It's been...
So 8 for me, but 5 since I've last been to the title game, which is too long.
Yeah, it's been 9 years for me. Jesus. God, I gotta win.
Time flies, folks. Time flies. Well, cool. Thanks to Mikey and Todd coming on, hanging out with me, Eric Lansing, on the podcast. Next week, we'll talk about the draft. We'll kind of give our thoughts on who had the best draft, maybe the draft pick of the entire draft, maybe the worst pick in the entire draft, and just talk about our teams in general. So we continue on with the MHA podcast here in year 21. Can't wait to see all of you this Sunday night. Not Saturday, it's Sunday night, so don't show up Saturday. You can, but there won't be any draft. And so we'll see you then. We'll catch you next time on the MHA podcast.